The Sepang test has finished, and on day 3 we got the fastest lap times as Pecco Bagnaia, the world champion, set an astonishing 156.682. Jorge Martin was only a tenth and a bit off him, a 156.854. Enea Bastianini a 156.9, and Alex Marquez also setting a 156.9. We have 4 riders breaking into the 156s for the first time around Sepang, which is truly incredible when you just think a couple of months ago what the lap record was. It was a 157.491. Pretty much everyone inside the top 10 has beat the existing lap record today. Of course it was beat yesterday as well, but the pace is astonishing. Looking down the results for February, we're at the top 4 as we mentioned. Aleix Espargaro very close to getting inside the 156s. He was in 5th place. Marquez done his first time attack properly. He was in 6th place on a 157.270. Brad Binder is inside the top 10 again in 7th. Fabio Di Giannantonio, a good test for him, in 8th place. Pedro Acosta, the rookie, in 9th. And again impressing, Joan Mir in 10th place. Fabio Quartararo again outside the top 10, with Maverick Vinales, who's struggling on the Aprilia, in 12th. Nakagami 13th, Miller 14th. Alex Rins in 15th. Johan Zarco 16th on the LCR Honda. 17th for Marco Bezzecchi. Another crash for him at the end of the day. He is fine though. Miguel Oliveira in 18th. Luca Marini in 19th. And then we have Kyle Crutchlow in 20th, obviously testing for Yamaha. Augusto Fernandez, his struggles still continue. He doesn't appear to be happy on that Gas Tech 3 bike. He was in 21st. Lorenzo Savadori 22nd. And in 23rd, Michele Pirro. Let's just get straight into these fast laps. It is pretty impressive, the laps that we've seen over the 3 days of testing. You know, as I mentioned, the top 10 are inside the outright lap record. Isn't really a surprise. You know, the temperature's there. You know, they've obviously got grip down on the track, which will play some factor into it. The pace that MotoGP bikes, and especially the Ducatis, are running at is frightening. You know, Bagnaia wasn't really happy on day 1, suffered a crash, but yesterday bounced back. And again today, it looked like they've made a real decisive step with the engine spec that they want to use for that 2024 machine. And he seemed just to go out and just do the laps. And when he needed to do the time attack, it was there in his pocket. Out of the 47 laps that he'd done, he settled on lap 8, so when it was cooler in the morning time, he was able to get that lap in. And the same for Jorge Martin. A bit more of a direction for Martin towards the 2024 Aero and engine. He seems to be a fan of the 2024 bike now after testing it back to back with his 2023 bike. And again, Enea Bastianini impressing. You know, he's had a very strong test. Of course, Enea really likes this circuit, but it's so good to see him delivering of what we know. And Alex Marquez has been really impressive. He's been inside the top 10 in all 3 days, and for him to get inside that 156 club, fantastic. You know, he won the sprint race here in Malaysia last year, and the adaptation from the 2022 Ducati to the 2023 for Alex appears to be going very well. Aleix Espargaro leading the way for Aprilia, a great lap time, but I get the sense that at Aprilia, and we'll talk about them in a bit, that they are disappointed with how this test has went. You know, they've made improvements, but so have Ducati. It's bigger than they could have imagined. Marc Marquez in 6th place. You know, finally we get to see Marquez try a time attack and really, you know, try and push the bike. Still 5/10 off the best, of course. I think he'll be satisfied with how everything has went this week. You know, no crashes. Yes, he did have those tech issues on day 1, but he did set a lot of laps yesterday, you know, 72 being the most. And again today, he set 54 laps. So he's got plenty of understanding of how the bike works. And it's a place for him to build on as we head into the Qatar test. And Di Giannantonio in 7th. Now, staying with Di Giannantonio, Pete McLaren, of course, one of our journalists for Crouch.net, he is in Malaysia and he has been tweeting throughout the tests. He's got the numbers for 10 lap or 9 lap simulations. So this would be a sprint simulation for what some of the riders have been doing, so their average times. So as you can see on screen, Fabio Di Giannantonio is actually the fastest rider over the 10 laps. Now as you see, there's a little asterisk saying that it was set later in the afternoon so it was cooler temperatures. But he leads the way on a 1:58.237, with Martin having the second best pace, then Bastianini, then Bagnaia, and then the two Aprilias of Espargaro and Vinales. Marc Marquez as well, he is in there. The KTMs of Binder and Acosta, with Alex Marquez, and then we get Luca Marini and Joan Mir, with Alex Rins and Johan Zarco rounding out that list. It's interesting data, I think, for all these riders together, you know, as there's been a mix of, you know, people trying it out in the hotter conditions, people trying it during when a sprint race would be, so that 2 o'clock time, or in the cooler conditions in the morning or afternoon. It gives you an impression though that we're very close together. You know, the pace that we see here is very tight, and of course it's never truly accurate, as you're not really in a race situation, you're not having to overtake, you're not having to, you know, avoid people at the start, but it gives you an indication that Ducati are very much making a step, and the bikes that they have on the grid with the GP23s and 24s are going to take some. It's been talked about, of course, over the past few years. They have the most bikes, they have everything covered, they've got the best riders, so theoretically they're going to have everything covered, and from this test it shows. We did mention Aprilia. Now, they have brought radically new aerodynamics, and I do think overall, at least Espargaro's times, they are an improvement, but Maverick Vinales, Miguel Oliveira, who's been testing most of the stuff, haven't really set lap times representative of, you know, a proper time attack like we're usually seeing from Maverick. Maverick is quite unsure about the 2024 aerodynamics compared to the 23. He actually said in a debrief that he's considering running the 23 aero throughout the season. So let's see how he gets on when he goes to Qatar. He does like that track, but Aprilia, I get the sense that they're slightly underwhelmed or maybe disappointed that Ducati have made such a jump from their 23 to 24 bikes, but it's still testing and we haven't even got anything underway yet for the season, and plenty can change. Joan Mir seemed very happy with his pace, you know, inside the top 10 again on the Honda for the second day, and now it just shows the lap time, and I think that they've improved over a second compared to where they were last year at Malaysia. So it just shows that Honda has made steps, but we do know in a race situation for Honda, they need to have the bike in a better window, because sometimes, you know, it's just uncontrollable. We see so many times Mir have the same crash with the front end, but let's see what it's like again when we get to Qatar. I think everything will have a clearer picture before we get to the first race. I'm not really a fan of Qatar being a testing circuit and then it being the first race. I think the riders get too dialed in and we kind of just get all the setups sorted, so we get an idea roughly of who's going to be leading at the front, and it takes away that sort of mystery. There's so many riders that are so close together, that's the only thing that keeps it a mystery. Who will be fastest, because you can kind of have an idea of who will be around there, but to try to pinpoint who it is, that's the exciting bit. Yeah, I think it's been a great test overall, and plenty of questions going into Qatar now for the next test. That'll be on the 19th and 20th. It's just a 2-day test. We'll have everything covered. Hope you've enjoyed the coverage over the past few days. Make sure to follow us on social media, Crash MotoGP. Head to crash.net for all your MotoGP news. Make sure to subscribe to us and don't forget to like this video on YouTube, and we will see you next time.